NYJ Podcast with Liam and Italy Jet.
On the afterburners, he's gone. Touchdown Jets. Brees Hall inside the 10. He's going to score.
First interception by Gardner.
Woo! That doesn't make you feel giddy. I don't know what does.
Love the new intro, man. It's sick. It really is. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 74 of the Everything NYJ Podcast. Liam, your host, co-host, Gino Italy Jet Pagano. Gino, big day. A lot of Jets news. We have a lot to get into, my man. How you feeling about all this?
Man. Whew. I mean, it's a lot to unpack. But I do think things are happening. Things are 100% happening, but it's do you think we lost that, or what do you think? Yeah, just a look on his face.
I think we lost the trade, to be honest with you. I mean, you could say what you want. Elijah Moore was a diva, a pain in the ass, but you got to understand where he was coming from. Like, yes, the timing was terrible. You don't do that when you're on a winning streak, but he's a competitor, and like, he wants to compete. He wants he wants a piece of the pie. That's all he wants. He wants a piece of the pie. He goes, this asshole over here, Zach Wilson's eating all the pie. I want some of the pie too. You can't blame him. Do I think that we want? I mean, I just, when I saw that we were trading Elijah Moore, I was hoping to read more into it and say Aaron Rodgers was officially a Jet.
Yeah.
And when I didn't see that, I was like, huh. We gave up Elijah Moore in a third round for a second round pick. I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah, the third round pick's a little bit of a bite. If it was more for a second round, I would have been more happy with that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I looked at it and I said, I think Elijah Moore is better than that. And I think I speak for most Jets fans here, especially, you and I. We wanted to see what Elijah Moore can do in Hackett's offense. We want to see how Elijah Moore would flourish under somebody like an Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, he's going to be playing with Deshaun Watson, which, I mean, that's not terrible either. I don't know. I miss him.
Hey, Abby's back. Hello.
Welcome back, Abby.
I haven't seen you in forever. How are you doing?
Abby gracing us with her presence as always. We got
Dakota. Hi, Dakota.
Got nothing but love from Dakota. Ooh, I think we have a new fan in here.
Hey, how you doing? It's nice to meet you, buddy. Good to have you on the show.
Absolutely. Sean Bennett, our good
hey,
friend.
My man. All over Facebook. All over Facebook.
He's right. Sean's right. There's got to be something more to this. I don't think that they just saw a second round pick.
Exactly.
And decided,
I agree.
Yeah, there's just got to be more to this. Yeah. Abby giving us a little. I got to throw my sunglasses on. I will. Gino's the sunglasses guy.
I'm the hat, sunglasses, scarf, everything.
Former Finger Lakes Jet, right?
Okay.
I'm liking the new name.
Okay, I need to know why you changed it, though, if you don't mind if I ask. I want to know.
Ooh, Gino getting some personal information.
I want to know. I liked his old name.
I did, too. That was very unique. It stuck out. Finger Lake Jets fan. I saw him on like Green and everything.
Oh, yeah,
he's getting around.
He is.
All right.
Because I live by Quickie. Oh, okay. Okay. Hey, cool.
Fair enough.
Hey, you do what you got to do.
All right. So as we all know, we came to terms with another wide receiver today. I don't think that he's quite at Elijah Moore's level. Mm-hmm. Probably just more of a depth piece. But Michael Hardman, what do you think about him?
Well, he's a little bit faster, actually, than Tyreek Hill when Hardman was healthy. I think it's a great pickup for a 1-year contract. I know a lot of people were like, hey, all right, well, he's been injured a lot, and I get that. But when he was healthy, he was really good in the slot, even on the outside. But anybody you play with Mahomes, you're going to be good, right? You're going to be good when you play with Mahomes. And when Rodgers comes, I think it's going to be good too. I think he is going to be a great upgrade in the kicking and punt returning for Berrios, just like Lake Jet fan just said. I think it's a great move for a 1-year contract. And if we get anybody else, it's just going to complement him even more. I really do like it.
I do too. He looks like a big body too. Maybe somebody that can replace a Corey Davis eventually too.
Mhm.
You know,
I
he does seem to be
Do you
pretty big.
think we keep him or do you think we trade Mims?
I think, well, to be fair, I think Corey Davis has more trade value than Denzel Mims.
I
You
wouldn't
know,
mind keeping Corey. I actually want them to keep Corey. I think Mims. It's like with Moore, right? Moore. This was kind of like a year in the making, and then he gets traded, right? I think Mims is kind of the same thing, and I also think something else is cooking for this team. Whatever happens in the wide receiver room,
see, this is interesting. I want to say, what's up, Vinny in the Jets? Our good friend Vinny.
yeah.
OBJ is on his way next. Mark my words, gentlemen. See, my
We'll
question,
see.
Vinny, and I
We'll
guess
see.
I'll ask Italy Jet the same thing. Where does OBJ fit in here? I mean, like, yes, he's OBJ. You can make him fit in, but
Yeah,
like, we're very we have a lot of depth right now at wide receiver, like very quality depth too. Like, how are we paying all
yeah.
these guys? And he's saying, he does want 4 million, but he never said 20 either. So somewhere between 4 and 20 million. I mean,
Well, that
what are you
was his
comfortable giving?
asking price. That was his asking price was 15 to 20. Now it's going to be more like between 4 and 10, I feel like now. What do you
Four and
think?
10, yeah. I mean, that would be a deadly combination. I mean, Garrett Wilson, Lazard, Corey Davis, and OBJ. Like, that's gonna get me excited here too.
Oh, heck yeah. It
Now, I wonder if we're putting Hardman in the slot or like who's gonna be our new slot receiver. I mean, that was Corey
Yes.
Davis's role.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think he's going to be our new slot, hands down.
Apparently, Zach Rosenblatt is confident in Ben Jones and OBJ coming to the Jets. Ben Jones, I wouldn't mind. Look, now to make myself clear,
Mm,
I wouldn't mind OBJ either. Like a lot of people are saying that he's like a pain in the butt and everything. I don't really. I mean, yeah, yes, he can be, but we're gonna have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I don't think that OBJ is gonna be a pain. I don't. We get that from poor quarterback play. That's all that we're used to as Jets fans. We get
yeah.
one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I don't see it. I don't see any wide receiver having a problem with this.
Yeah, but does Ben Jones have a good relationship with our offensive coordinator? I heard that he did push him a lot with his concussion issues last year with Ben Jones. That's also something to be concerned about. I would love Ben Jones, but I understand that he's got history. He's got history with this
Yeah.
coach, so you never know.
I don't think it would hurt.
Yeah,
And if the history is that serious between him and the coach. Are you talking about bad history or good history? What are you talking about here?
I'm talking about bad history.
I don't think that there would be. I mean, the way I'm looking at things from now on is when there's smoke, there's fire. Like the Jets are at least in talks with him. His name has at least come up at one Jets drive. That's the way I'm looking at it. Um, I don't
Yeah,
think that
I
maybe
get
it's that
you.
serious if he's willing to maybe come here, at least listen to what the Jets have to say. Now, Sean is saying, I
Yeah,
don't want OBJ. He's not a solid number one anymore. Maybe a number three or a third, and he's injured. Yeah, I don't think that he's a number one, but I don't think that we're asking him to be a number one. We're not paying him number one money. We have Garrett Wilson, so I think OBJ would just be a very nice complimentary piece. I don't
mm,
want to sign him for depth. I don't want to pay him like a heavy contract, just to rotate him in and out. I do think that he could be opposite. Maybe like him and Lazard switch out here and there, something like that.
yeah, yeah. Um, I wonder if Lawson and Davis are going to be extended. Yeah, I mean, I could see him taking pay cuts and then extending them, but because I mean the loss of Shepard and Rankins, yeah, it's going to be interesting with that one. But okay, so I did see this one already. I do know what he's talking about, but also Ben Jones has said too as well. There's been a few of them that have said some things about our new offensive lines coach, but you're going to have players that don't like your coach and you're going to have players that love your coach. It's always going to be a 50-50 thing.
Well, you see, like that kind of reminds me of when we had Mike Westhoff on. He even said, he goes, I never came in here to be anyone's friend.
Yeah,
Like,
there you
if
go.
Keith Carter
I
can
agree.
maximize these guys' potential, I'm all for it. You have
Facts.
to be. I mean,
Facts.
we have too much talent on this team. I don't give it. I don't care if the coach is an asshole or not. Get
Hmm.
the coach in here that's going to maximize these players' potential. Uh, do I think Mims will improve with Aaron Rodgers? Yeah, I think everybody's going to improve with Aaron Rodgers. When you
Yeah.
have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, everybody improves. It's that.
I agree.
I think Corey Davis is gone too, says Abby. I can see it happening,
I could see it
but
happening.
I don't know if the Jets are willing to get rid of Corey Davis and Elijah Moore. The Elijah Moore trade, like it's just strange to me. There's got to be more to it.
I agree.
Kuka is how he explained that it's pronounced. Kuka Lake Jets fan. The Jets don't need OBJ to be a 1 or a 2. Yeah, I'm comfortable with him being like a solid 3.
Yeah.
Vinny says, Sean, OBJ would have been an MVP of the Rams S Super Bowl maybe prior to him getting hurt in the game. Oh yeah, it's got to be that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he would have. I mean, the last time we saw OBJ on a field, he was catching a touchdown in the end zone.
Yeah,
he
was lighting it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike says, "Hey fellas, what a day!" Yeah, man, it's a big day, and like every time I'm working, like all this like big news always comes out. It just so happens to be that way. I'm so done with Mims, says Abby Fresh. Good to have Abby back. What are your thoughts on Mims, Gino?
Yeah, I could take it or leave him. He has a big body though, and I know JD likes those guys, so I could take it or leave it though. But I think there is one more person that we need to bring in for our guest. I think he can share some more light on everything that happens. Hey, let's get some music going. All right, here we go. Brandyn Pokrass, FDU grad. He's a writer for Jets Insider. He's got a podcast, The City That Never Sleeps show on AD2D Radio. My man, Brandyn Pokrass. My man, what's going on, dude? Welcome to the show.
Brandyn!
What's up, guys? How are we doing?
Good.
What's going
on? How you
doing? I'm doing great. I mean, taken back by some of the news today, but it's Jets land. Never sleeps over here.
There you go.
Never a dull moment with this team.
Never a dull moment.
So what do you think about all this news?
So going throughout my day today, I see the McCole Hardman signing come across, and I'm like, all right, Berrios replacement. This is something where it's like, all right, number 4 receiver is going to fit well with Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore. The Lazard signing looks even better. And then not even like an hour later, Elijah Moore traded. And I'm like, okay, this changes things now. Because, you want to see more with a good quarterback. And let's face it, he hasn't really had that. He hasn't had that stability. He hasn't really had someone to get him the ball consistently. You watch him last year, obviously we know what happened with him wanting to request a trade. He's not getting the ball as much. You obviously have the emergence of Garrett Wilson. But with Aaron Rodgers coming here, I kind of figured, the Jets want to keep that receiving core intact, not just for 1 year, but maybe another year or 2 in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go first, Liam.
Do you think the Jets won this trade? I really don't feel like they did.
Yeah. I've been debating this all day.
Ooh.
So like my roommate that I live with, we had a good conversation about this. We were talking like, how does this line up with the potential pursuit of Rodgers? He was adamant on like he thought more could have been used in that trade, if anything, to actually maybe take away from some of the picks that were being traded. Obviously, you have the LaFleur and Salah connection in Green Bay as well. Who knows how that would have worked out? But for me, it's okay. You got the 2nd round pick. The way I saw it with that is you're ensuring that you're at least having 1 pick in the 2nd round. Because let's face it, one of those is probably going in a Rodgers trade.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
The kicker for me is the 3rd round pick. Why do you
need that up?
Yeah. Why do you have to add the 3rd round pick onto Moore? I'd rather give up maybe something lesser and maybe not get as high a pick in return. I don't like giving up the 3rd because now it's like, okay, do we have to trade back to recoup another pick? Because this team does still have holes. This team hasn't done a lot of free agency. Obviously, a lot of time left to rectify that, but it's very dicey.
It's strange. It's very strange.
Agreed.
You see, like when I see like Elijah Moore getting traded, I really thought like as I was reading into it that that Aaron Rodgers was coming here. So I'm like, all right, cool, I'm down for that.
Yeah.
But I think that I don't understand. Like I'm kind of like in the same boat as you guys, where it's like I think that there's more to this trade. Like there has to be a reason why we threw that third in there. Like it just kind of like out of left field. That doesn't really seem to be like Joe Douglas's MO. I mean, to give up on somebody that he drafted, and Elijah Moore wasn't a scrub. Like yes, he asked for a trade at the worst possible time last year while the team was winning. But like I said earlier in the show, it was because he wasn't getting the targets he wanted. I mean, like, he's a playmaker. He's a competitor. He wants to make plays. He wants a piece of the pie. I don't blame him for that. It just seems like the way that it went down, like this was all very strange. Robert Saleh said that the team last year had no intentions on trading him, and I guess he stuck to his word up until this point. They didn't trade him last year. It's just I don't know, man. It's just strange, like you said, that we threw the third round pick in there, where we already don't have what is it, like a 6th or 7th round pick this year too. So it's just strange to me, man.
Yeah, it's like, because now you look at positional needs, right? Or you're basically banking on trading, signing, drafting a wide receiver, because you're not going into the season with just those 3 guys. Corey Davis, we're assuming he's gone, but he doesn't really have a role now that you have Lazard, because they're essentially the same type of player, plus that cap hit, which you haven't even restructured yet. I personally, when I saw the trade, I'm like, okay, JSN, Ohio State. But then it's like, wait, we need the draft offensive line at 13 right now. So does that mean it's now a trade back scenario? And then you're using those later 2nd round picks as more of the offensive line targets? Are you trading back up with some of those 2nd round picks back into the 1st and maybe get Addison or JSN or Zay Flat? Like, the possibilities are open now. Obviously, the easiest and probably most likely solution is you have the Odell Beckham signing, which that's probably the easiest, where it kind of flatlines everything. You're all in with that receiver, and you're going to probably have to find another one, maybe not necessarily this year in the draft, but next year. But yeah, it's very interesting. I see some of the comments coming in, and it's like, I agree. It's very intriguing because the Jets do have other needs. I think they still need a safety. I still would add another linebacker. Interior defensive line, absolutely, with Sheldon Rankings, and to a lesser extent, Nathan Shepard leaving.
Right.
And obviously offensive line, which is center and tackle, like flashing red lights right now.
Yeah, I agree. So, are you cool with the safety? Like, are you cool with Whitehead, Chuck Clark, and Joyner?
I want one more. I just, it's not that I have an issue with Whitehead, because I think he can improve if the guy next to him is, improved, because LaMarcus Joyner, we've seen that the past 2 seasons.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. Nope. He's a liability out there.
But Chuck Clark isn't exactly the ball hawking free safety type. He's very similar to where it's like, I personally would love a Brian Branch selection, because you can move him all over the field, but that's a guy you're probably going to have to draft in the 1st. And the only way you do that, I mean, you're probably not picking him at 13 unless the Jets fall in love with him. And the safety class in free agency was very good, but it's kind of drying up right now. I mean, maybe a guy like Taylor Rapp, if he's still out there, but that's not, are you selling Taylor Rapp and Jordan Whitehead as your 2 starters? Maybe, but it's just a matter of the Rodgers trade. I wouldn't say it's holding things up, because, I mean, as you see today, it's really not. But I'm just very interested to see the types of additions they're making at these spots, because let's face it, this is a new type of offseason that the Jets haven't had since, I'd say, probably like 2010, 2011, where they're actually going to go all in. They're actually going to push the chips in the middle of the table, and you're going to have more of those short-term signings. So at the same time, you can't really like say for certain, oh, they're going to pick this person up, they're going to pick that person up, because at the end of the day, you really don't know.
That's interesting. I actually am good with the safety position. I kind of want to give Whitehead more chance. I love the Clark. I think Clark's a great locker room guy. I think he's going to bring an explosiveness to this defense and the Joe Douglas connection. That also helps with him being with the Ravens. I do like Tony Adams. I think he's going to be good eventually, and I think Parks bringing him back, I think that's going to be good too. But at the linebacker position, would you draft a linebacker anyway, or do you think we should get a free agent linebacker? And who would you get if you were the Jets?
The problem is the linebacker class in free agency wasn't really good in the first place. I mean, if you look through the names, there was no one I was really, if I'm the Jets, I was going to throw money at. I mean, and once again goes to, what are the Jets' priorities in the draft? Personally, I love Jack Campbell. I think he'd be great, but he's more of that middle of the field type guy. So that would probably be a Mosley replacement type pick. You're not really afforded to that type right now. Trenton Simpson, I would love, but he's probably more of a mid first, late first guy where you would probably have to trade back up for him. And there's some other guys later in the draft, but are you willing to invest that capital when you probably are going to need to shore up some other positions and maybe not even have as many picks because of a Rodgers trade? That's really what it comes down to in terms of the draft stuff. You really don't know what picks the Jets are going to have yet. And that full draft strategy isn't going to be in place until we know what they gave up, because they give up one or two of the second round picks. That trade back from 13 looks a lot more likely. You keep that second rounder and the first. Now you're more of a balanced scenario. So that's, if I were to put a key to the offseason right now, where I'm like, for the Jets, I'm looking at it, it's what is the compensation for Rodgers? And I feel like that's like everyone's mindset, but for me, it's more of like a draft lens, because with the free agents remaining, you're not going to make a signing that's earth shattering anymore. Your big additions, your big factors that are going to help the roster are going to come in the draft now.
Yeah.
And we need a center too. I think that's the biggest thing. It's a big center class, and we need a center badly. Liam, go ahead.
Yeah, see, if it's me, I'm investing 99.9 of my draft picks in the offense and defensive line. We saw how bad it was last year. I mean, granted, like, this offensive line does seem to be like an upgrade so far. Mekhi Becton seems to be like in the best shape of his life. AVT's coming back. McGovern's still a free agent, so like Gino said, we could be looking at a center in free agency or in the draft. Herbig's gone, I believe, right?
Exactly right.
Laken Tomlinson's back. He doesn't really move the needle for me. Dwayne Brown's back.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some more to that. I think that has to do something with Aaron Rodgers. I think he knows something maybe. But, I've been saying it for weeks. Every quarterback throws the same when they're on their back. And especially with a 40-year-old possibly breaking down Aaron Rodgers, his body breaking down, we need to invest in the offensive line 100%. Finally, this has been a problem that we've had for, it feels like eons now. It seems like, we get a good player here, a good player there. But it seems like the last really good offensive line we had was probably during the Mark Sanchez days. Get it, straightened up. The defensive line, like Brandon, like you said, Gino, you said too, we're missing Sheldon Rankins. That hurts. Nathan Shepard, I could live without him.
Yeah.
Quinnen Williams, we got to get that squared away. But in order for Quinnen Williams to continue to grow, we need those studs around him. We have JFM, who was very up and down last year. If it's you, Brandon, are you investing a lot of picks into the offense and defensive line, or are you going more skill positions? What are you thinking with this draft?
I mean, I'm investing the premium capital into the trenches 100%. And,
be, right?
And the main reason it's not about the upper echelon, it's the depth. We saw loud and clear last year what happened when one or two injuries struck this team. And it's funny enough because the same conversation was being had before last year's draft. Aquanu, Evan Neal were the constant two mock draft picks because what was the thought process, right? Mekhi Becton's coming off injury. You need another tackle to, at minimum, compete with him. But if he goes down, you need someone to step in. And I was thrilled with the Sauce Gardner pick. The Sauce Gardner pick, slam dunk. The Jets draft class last year, incredible. At the end of the day, though, they banked on Becton being healthy, and their bet missed. It happens.
Yeah.
But you see what happens when that occurs. And then George Fant goes down. And then Dwayne Brown is battling a shoulder injury the entire year. And then Max Mitchell is dealing with injury. You're having to move Elijah Vera-Tucker to tackle, which luckily enough, you found out emergency situation or you want to move him there, he can perform. But your depth was constantly tested every single week. You had a guy going down. You're having to shuffle the O-line. You know, obviously the quarterback play was a major issue, but when you have a different combination of the 5 guys up front changing week in, week out, and you're not having any continuity, you're not building that rapport with each other, it's tough. And luckily you have guys coming back from injury, but the way I look at it is you can't bank on health in the NFL. It's just, it's not something that you can do. And as we've seen, if you bank on health and you don't get the right depth, it's going to bite you. It's going to bite you bad. And I like some of the additions they made, picking up Tristan Colon and Wes, I think it's Schweitzer, because those are kind of filling the Herbig and Feeney roles of that depth on the offensive line. But you need that guy that if Becton can't produce or Mitchell gets hurt or Becton gets hurt, you need that guy that can fill in there. Whether it's, if they stay at the pick, Paris Johnson Jr. has been consistently mocked to the Jets. Broderick Jones, Peter Skoronski has that versatility. Those are the 3 guys where one of them's probably falling to the Jets pick. And if the Jets stay there, I would pick them because at the worst you have, or at the best, you have depth on that offensive line and really good depth at that. At the worst, you have another starter that can fill in. If someone, 1, isn't producing or 2 can't fill in, if you trade back, there's guys like Darnell Wright that may be in the 15-20 range. There's guys like, there's other linemen in this draft. It's a deep draft where I'm investing my first and probably one of, if not both of the second round picks into the trenches, specifically offensive line, defensive line as well. You need a big run stuffer or at least another guy that can take some of the pressure off Quinnen Williams, because why did Quinnen have such a good year? It's not just because he's an incredible player, which he is, but the Jets had a really good defensive line in terms of skill and depth.
Well, Explosive Diarrhea agrees with you.
Man.
No, yeah, man. Like you hit the nail on the head there. You know, like you said, like the depth was really tested. I think we have to go probably first round. You know, whether it be Broderick Jones or you know, somebody like a Paris Johnson. Italy, what are you thinking?
You get the best guy available at the offensive position. That's what we did with getting the best corner last year, and then we got the best wide receiver. It's JD loves those big guys. He loves those big guys on the offensive line and defensive line. Look at Clemens. I mean, huge dude. So you got to get the best player available and knowing the big guys. Now I want to go more towards the Rodgers for 1 second, and then we'll come back. Does the Packers or Jets? Who's got the most leverage in this situation right now?
Oh man,
if I hear the word leverage again, I'm gonna scream.
I know, it sucks, but hey.
So, full disclaimer here, I want to bury my head in the sand and not even look at any of these discussions anymore. It's getting to a point where I've said it to my friends too. I've said it to like the people I'm around when I'm doing I'm like, I just want it to end. Like it's to the point where it's just, a report comes out, this team has leverage. A report comes out that this team has leverage. And, you know, if you follow enough of the reporting, everything is reported for a reason all the time.
Yeah.
If reports are coming out about both sides having all the leverage, it's either neither team has leverage or it's somewhere in the middle. It's very frustrating to see, the Jets are going to be screwed. The Packers are going to be screwed. Quite frankly, and this is how I look at it, both teams are not in a great spot, and both teams should probably be working to figure it out as soon as possible, because the Jets, from their perspective, right, they need their quarterback in the building as soon as possible. Actually have him officially on the roster, be like, and this goes outside the football stuff too, but be able to, promote the quarterback and be like, this is the best quarterback we've had in ages, the highlight. Like, no one thinks about that, but it's very important. Also, you're officially able to go after the quote unquote, there's a few podcasts that have said this, but like the 1-year deal, the big time free agents that want to ring chase. Like the quote unquote last dance, where all the veterans want to ring chase with the Jets, which I'll be honest, after watching this team for the past, basically my entire life, if you told me that this was going to happen, I would not have believed you.
Yeah.
Not in the slightest. But
well, you see, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. My bad.
I was just gonna say, it's like I don't really understand how the Packers have any leverage here. And what a lot of people aren't understanding is it's not, the Packers don't have an owner. It's a bunch of shareholders. So which makes it a little bit harder for somebody like a Woody Johnson to, obviously he goes to Murphy, which that's who we're speaking with, but it's not like 100% completely up to him. It's not like a one-person decision, which makes things harder. And you can't go talk about Aaron Rodgers in the past tense. He was a great Packer, one of the best Packers we've ever had. We'll bring him back. We're going to retire his jersey. You can't say all this, and all of a sudden, go back on our word. Oh no. Now we want this. A lot of rumors were that it wouldn't cost a first round pick. We don't know what the compensation is, but there's rumors that Aaron Rodgers was telling Joe Douglas, "Don't give up this much for me. I'm not worth that." Now there's other reports that like some people are saying that we're very close with compensation. Some people are saying that we're very far. It's frustrating. Like, what do you think the compensation is?
So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a very important aspect where both teams may not have the greatest quote unquote leverage. The Packers have way more to lose.
Exactly.
It's not even close. And here's why, right? Worst case scenario, let's say the Jets don't get Rodgers, which, full transparency, I think they do get him. I just think it's all semantics at this point. But let's say worst case scenario, they don't get Rodgers. And this won't be the best option, but there are pivot points. They can reach out to other teams. We don't know how the Lamar Jackson situation is going to play out.
Exactly.
That's a huge wild card. The leverage conversations where, Matt Stafford could be a potential option for the Jets, or a Kirk Cousins. That's not floated out there by accident. Those rumors aren't floated out there by accident. It's not necessarily, the Jets are actually interested. It's, hey, Green Bay, we're not as locked in as you think we are. And whether that's true or not, those names are still out there.
Yeah.
Green Bay, which, if we're not even considering Rodgers' cap hit on their roster, which is one of the biggest points that would affect them, he would blow up that locker room. Yes. Because if Rodgers retires, they're paying his entire salary.
Exactly.
And that is a very big contract. If he goes back, they already said they want him gone. There's no way they're going to start him over Love. And if he does, guess what? Jordan Love's requesting a trade right after that. And the Packers would be in such a bad predicament where it's not even just, we have a Rodgers issue. The entire league's going to see how they're handling this situation. And quite frankly, the league's probably seeing how they're handling the situation now. You have Lazard that kind of threw shade at them in his free agent introductory press conference. You've had Rodgers go on McAfee and basically talk about the entire situation. Green Bay, the longer they wait, it's not even about leverage. It's about optics and how it looks. And the Jets, barring an Elijah Moore situation, which might be the worst trade that we've seen in a little bit, the Jets have come out on the winning end on the majority of their trades. I'd say probably 85, 90% of the time. I think it's going to end up being a second-round pick, because I do not think they give up a first, and I'll explain why in a second. And then I think the closest you get to a first is like a conditional pick for next year that can work its way up, depending on like certain conditions that are hit. Because number one, Rodgers is approaching 40 years old. Rodgers has also flirted with retirement. I think it's been 3 straight seasons?
Yes. Yep.
If you take away the Rodgers name, the Aaron Rodgers brand, who Aaron Rodgers is, would the Jets trade a first-round pick for a 39-year-old quarterback with those stats coming off last year that has threatened to retire 3 straight years? The answer is no, and it's an immediate no. Like, I get how name value can inflate the perceived value of a player. I get how it can change. Oh, it's Aaron Rodgers. He can't go for anything less than a first. But the reality situation is the Jets can't afford to give up that first-round pick. We've discussed it, how they need trench help. They need that first-round pick to improve this roster to ensure that the Rodgers-led Jets can compete.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And not only that, too, it's like this needs to probably get done by the draft.
Exactly.
If you want to help Jordan Love this year, there's like you said, like there's no reason that it shouldn't be getting done. They have to figure out what they have in Jordan Love, excuse me. And they just took away their best weapon in Allen Lazard. Like you're gonna have to replace that. I understand you want a first round pick. There's also reports out there that the Packers feel like the Jets are lowballing them. I don't know if you've heard that too. I agree with you. Second round pick, I think, is fair. Italy, what are you willing to give up for this? If it was you, what's the compensation?
Well, Sean Bennett, and also Brandon, I agree with everything you're saying, but Sean Bennett even brought up a good point with the Favre when we went. Didn't we give up a third? Right?
It was a later pick. It was a later pick.
Okay.
Favre retired and then wanted to come back, and the team had already moved on to Aaron Rodgers at the time.
Okay, that's what
that's
why I thought it was, but I just wasn't for sure on that one.
Right.
But overall, I think this is what I think JD's going to do. I think if we don't hear anything between now and the draft, I think JD's going to move on. JD just doesn't. He hates sitting back and playing this whole game. He is not that type of GM. So I think now, if you want the Packers want to help themselves, they would do it now, because if Rodgers retires, a lot of your money is gone. You can't even spend that much. You even spend it all in the draft with picks because it's cheap contracts, or you get some veterans. But overall, I think there's a time clock on this with JD, but I also can see this too. Rodgers doesn't do OTAs. I can also see this just going into the summer too. It could go both ways. Or Rodgers retires and we pick him back and we go like the Favre thing again and then get him. That's what I think is going to happen.
It's very interesting because it's very not sick, but how the Packers are just digging in their heels, and the Jets are kind of digging in their heels as well, and they're playing the game of like who's going to blink first. Yeah. I just don't see a situation where the Jets blink first, because
exactly
the Jets give up too much value in the trade. Douglas is done. Like the Jets, I know people have come out and said, oh, it's not necessarily a playoff mandate. If it wasn't a playoff mandate, they wouldn't be scouring the earth to find a quarterback. They wouldn't be literally connected to every possible veteran option that has been out there. And like we discussed once again, that first round pick is so valuable to not just the present, but the future of the team. One of the comments that just popped up essentially reinforced what we said. It makes no sense for them to give up that first round pick. It makes no sense for them to exactly take on that much cash, and he only being a 1-year player. That's like the closest thing you could equate it to is like an MLB trade. But at that point, you're just picking up someone at the trade deadline. You're not giving up that much for a 39-year-old player. That's unheard of.
Agreed.
Now, we're talking Aaron Rodgers, and he's doing this, and he's like 27 years old or 26-year-old, Lamar Jackson.
Right.
Completely different story. A first-round pick is at minimum being sent in that trade. because that's the value to what he is. He would be your quarterback for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Rodgers, at best,
3
is here for 3.
Yeah.
You're not giving up a first round pick for that because you don't even know if he's going to be here beyond 1.
That's true.
That's true.
At what point do you, like Gino was saying, and I saw like in the comments too, like possibly move on from him, like be like, all right, like this isn't worth it anymore. Do you have like a set date in your head that like you press that panic button and maybe go after a Lamar Jackson or somebody like that, or what is your plan moving forward with it?
So today's March 22nd, right? Draft is basically a month away.
Yeah,
basically a month away, right?
Yeah.
I give it a week and a half before the draft, where it's like, look, if we're not close, because honestly, at that point, you probably have not a resolution, but you probably know what's going on with the Lamar Jackson situation. They probably have an idea what's going on with that now. If you truly are interested in Lamar, and we don't know if the Jets are, that obviously isn't being reported on considering the Rodgers situation. But if they were truly interested in Lamar and they know that he's available to get in trade, you can't let that draft capital convey past the draft, because then you're not trading assets for this year and next year. You're trading assets for next year and the year after that, which does Baltimore want that? Do the Jets even want to do that? That would be very interesting. And then that goes to the same point. The Green Bay, how does the trade even work if it moves beyond the draft? It doesn't, because the Jets' capital is gone. Green Bay isn't improving their roster. So I know people are saying, oh, this could drag on to OTAs, all that. I don't think it goes past the draft. I really don't. Because
I agree.
Green Bay, I don't think they've even signed a free agent yet. They've restructured guys. They've,
Yeah, that might be true, actually. I don't think they have.
They re-signed a couple guys. I know they picked up a couple guys, but it wasn't like anything big.
Anything big. They're so cash strapped by the situation that they can't really make those necessary improvements. Look at their division. Minnesota's made some pretty good improvements. Chicago's spending money. Detroit looks really scary.
Yeah.
Green Bay sits on their hands for too long. You're probably the third best or worst team in that division, because you're not making improvements to the roster. And I truly think that's your artificial deadline, not your true deadline, because technically that can go on as long as possible. But I think your artificial and most likely deadline is the draft, because there's no way Green Bay and the Jets let it go beyond that. Because if they do, I don't even know what to say at that point.
Yeah, you and everybody. I think it's just a mystery question now. But overall, trading more and getting that second round pick, even though it did cost us a third pick, it's in the right direction, I feel like, because of everything that happened today. So, and getting Hardman as well. I think it's his replacement. It's Moore's replacement. We can all say it. So for me, now the wide receiver room, Corey Davis, Mims, Wilson, Lazard. I can go on and on, even Hardman. Where do you see Davis and Mims going? Are they staying? Are they traded? What do you think?
I think out of the two, Mims is probably the one that's more likely to stay, just because we've seen them hold on to him. Maybe they finally give him a shot this year with a new quarterback, a new type of system, see if he can mesh well with Rodgers and be that second type of red zone threat at the receiver position. I just don't see Corey Davis staying because of the cap hit. I legitimately think the only reason he's on the roster is because of a potential trade to Green Bay. There's been reports how much the Green Bay loved Davis when he was in Tennessee, when he was a free agent. I just don't see a place for him because, quite frankly, that money needs to be spent elsewhere. You need that money on your cap. And Allen Lazard basically does everything that Corey Davis does for the most part. And he's a year younger and on a cheaper deal with less guaranteed money. I don't see a place for him. I think you're adding one more receiver, maybe a second one that's really like a return specialist, even though Hardman really takes care of that as well. But quite frankly, I'd like to add more speed to the room with that addition. Yeah. Maybe obviously you add Odell, that's a great addition. I've obviously said I want JSN. I think Zay Flowers would be a cool addition. Just having that true, just deep threat, but he's also a smaller receiver and you don't have that much size in that room. So it's going to be interesting. And I would love Corey Davis to be like your 4th, 5th type wide receiver. But number one, is he going to want that? And number two, that cap hit would need to change drastically, especially for where he positions in that position room right now.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah, he's always I see, like, the thing is, like, your best ability is availability, and he seems to never be available. And when he is available, he's always good for a penalty. He's always good for a couple drops. It's just really his inconsistencies. Like, I don't mind Corey Davis staying. I don't think it happens, though. It's just like he's not worth, like you said, the contract. If you could restructure him somehow, but if you restructure him, like, I don't even know, like, what to give him. Like, I don't even know, like, what his value is. I think the best thing that we can do is just maybe trade him, maybe a 3rd, a 4th round pick. I think you get from him. I think a 4th is probably more likely than a 3rd at this point. And then we just cut our losses. I mean, we don't really necessarily need him in our room. I mean, even Abby here says Corey Davis is definitely gone. Package him in with the Aaron Rodgers trade, and maybe you get that done. But I don't know if we're signing another wide receiver. We kind of have a lot, like, right now, and, like, they all seem to be studs. Like, even our depth are studs. So, and then you had mentioned about, like, the punt and, like, kick return too. We could probably also throw, like, Bam Knight back there too. Like, Bam Knight's explosive as hell.
Yes,
that was my plan that I would have been very on board with. I'm very happy with the Mecole Hardman signing, but Bam Knight was probably one of my favorite players to watch. I love his running style. I love what he added late down the stretch. And I think with him being the complementary guy and not the main guy, he's going to be way more successful.
Right.
And a combination of him and Breece Hall, I think it's going to be very, very fun to watch for the Jets, because underrated part of Knight's game, he also caught the ball pretty well.
Yes.
And you're not going to have to rely on Breece to do everything right off the bat, which I think is the most important thing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think the running back room now is more, I would say, I can't believe I'm saying this because even the tight end room and the running back room are the most dominant we've had in a very long time. And I'm going to consider this the Dustin Keller days, because Dustin Keller was our number one for a while, and replacing him, I mean, getting Tyler Kroft in here, Griffin, it's just been wow. But now with the running back position, you can even, like Liam said, I know you said it, you can even do kick return, punt return. It's very important to establish that. I know Berrios the year before was good with that, but he had a low ball year this year. But I'm going to go more special teams now. How huge was it re-signing Greg Zuerlein and getting Morstead?
If I had to watch Brandyn Mann for another year, I don't know what I would have done.
I would rip my eyes out. Yes.
It's one thing to, have a bad punter. It's another thing to have essentially the worst punter in the NFL. And I'm pretty sure that's what the Jets had. First of all, Morstead should have never been cut in the first place.
Thank you.
And also that circles back to the Elijah Moore point, where there has to be more to the story, no pun intended, that he got traded, because Joe Douglas hasn't given up on any draft pick. Most GMs would have cut Denzel Mims. Most GMs would have cut Ashton Davis. No idea how he's still on the roster.
Amen to that, brother.
Most GMs would have cut a guy like Brandyn Mann, but they're all still here. So that's just like a caveat to the Elijah Moore thing. I don't know if they ever fully. You can say whatever you want to the media. I don't think they ever truly reconciled with him after that trade request after the Green Bay game. I don't think they ever really accepted the quote-unquote apology. But back to Zuerlein, I mean, the Jets kicker situation has been just ridiculous until they had Zuerlein. I mean, the Gase years were probably some of the worst kickers. I don't even remember the dude's name. The guy that was hyped up, and then he had some of the worst field goal misses I've seen in my entire life and was cut after week 1. But
Sergio something.
He was so bad. I think I kind of just blocked it out of my mind.
Yeah, I think you're right. One of them.
Well, we had Brett Maher for a little while.
Yeah.
How was
his name? Santos? Was it Santos?
No, it wasn't Santos. It was. Oh man.
Anybody in the chat? Anybody in the chat? Let us know, because I see the dude's face. I just can't remember the dude's name. Dang.
He was on the Ravens, and the Jets picked him up, and everyone's like, "Oh, this dude's a stud. This dude's the next Tucker." And then he was not the next Tucker.
Eddie Pinheiro?
No, it wasn't Pinheiro.
No. Pat Leahy. Bring back Pat Leahy. I don't know.
Sergio Costello.
There we go. That's who it is.
Was it him? Oh.
Yes, I remember that now. Oh my God, that's bad.
Yeah.
I'm still upset about letting Nick Folk go. I hate seeing Nick Folk twice a year. I loved him.
I'm surprised he's still playing, but I was upset letting him go too.
It's a shame. It really is. It just shows you how much hell we've been through the last couple of years. It's kind of brighter days are ahead, boys. And Italy Jet, Greg Zuerlein is your best friend. You've made that very clear.
We're not talking about that. I'm done talking about Greg Zuerlein. That's old news for me. Brandon, I have another question for you. The New York Jets turf. It's about time that it happens, or do you like it the way it is? Personally, I think it's about time. Players have been saying it for a long time.
It had to happen.
I think it should have changed after that 49ers game. I think it was 2 years ago.
Yes.
That game single-handedly ruined their season. It's not often that a single game changes the entire impact of a season, but that I'm pretty sure they lost Mostert and Bosa in that game. That's when Mostert was running like he looked like the best running back in football. Bosa was starting his ascent. Bang, right away, knee injuries completely changed the course of their season. And it wasn't just that game. You had guys that would always complain about the turf, and it wasn't just the Jets. It was during Giants games too.
Yes.
Right.
And I just don't understand, and this can be a wider conversation about football in general. I don't understand what the NFL's unwillingness to progress and use innovations, not just for the field, but not having the chips in the football to determine first down spots. It seems like it'd be so easy to implement. We see it with soccer. We see it with the NBA is going to start and implement it. I don't understand why it's so hard to just be like, oh yeah, this isn't working. We are the biggest multi-billion-dollar industry on the face of the planet in terms of sports. We should probably make our product better. That's something where I'm happy that MetLife is changing the field, but at the same time, I'll believe it when I see it. I need to see it in action.
I agree 100%. Even Kelsey has been saying about this, the Kelsey brothers, everyone's been saying it, not just our stadium, everybody. It's hard playing on turf, no matter who you are. I played soccer on turf. I hated every minute of it. I love a good fresh grass. That's it. I got less injuries like that.
So I played baseball majority of my life. I played football as well. The difference between turf and grass is, especially well-cut grass too, the grass it feels better. It just feels better, and it's not as much on your knees, on your limbs. So that's like a high school, and I played some D3 college baseball as well. Imagine how professional athletes feel when they're running 20 miles an hour and having to plant and cut. Not great. Not great at all.
Nope.
What's up, Sideline Report? This is our Packers fan here. If you ever want to come on, man, we could talk some Aaron Rodgers. Great stuff. He's always arguing with me about always throwing his little sly comments in here.
It's all good.
Before we wrap it up, Brandon, I do have another question for you, though. Whether we get Aaron Rodgers or not, do you think that we go for a veteran quarterback, like somebody else, like a backup? What are you thinking?
They have to.
Right?
I get it. Everyone's all high on Rodgers, as he should be, and as we should be. If they get him, it's the best Jets quarterback in my lifetime, bar none.
Right. Easily.
You cannot have Zach Wilson as the backup quarterback. If you go into the season as that, you are asking for trouble.
Yep.
And I get it in the situation like, oh, Rodgers has been durable for the most part, but at the same time, has he been fully durable? He had the thumb injury last year. Jordan Love did have to step in. He's only getting older, and there are enough decent, and I'm not even asking for good. I'm asking for just a decent backup quarterback. Bring in Brian Hoyer on a 1-year, $2 million deal or something. Just don't have Zach Wilson be the guy, because if you have another season where, God forbid, something happens to the starting quarterback, we're assuming it's Rodgers, and Zach Wilson has to come in, and Zach Wilson tanks the Jets season, you don't want that situation to happen. That's like DEFCON 1, same old Jets. Oh, the quarterback they picked just completely destroyed the best looking Jet season in XYZ amount of years. You want to avoid that situation at all costs. And keeping that in mind, there are so many options where if they go into Zach Wilson as backup behind Rodgers, they are asking for trouble. It will be a organizational failure, not a Joe Douglas failure, but an organizational failure if they do not bring in anyone.
Agreed. Everything you said, agreed. And not only that, people are saying that we got it wrong. And I don't really know if that's really the case, because I wanted Fields. I really did. I wanted Fields first. But Zach Wilson does have talent. It's just not all there for him right now. And whether it's going to be now or it's going to pull a Geno Smith and 6 years later he's really good, I don't know what that's going to take. But as of right now, you're going to have some angry people going into MetLife. You're not going to have people show up if Zach Wilson's your starter or your backup. It just can't happen. But my last question before we go, and I'll wrap it up, Liam, the coaching staff. What do you think of the new coaches that came in, and where do you think the direction they're going? Do you like everything going? What do you think?
I mean, everyone kind of called it out from the get-go. Oh, Hackett's the OC. When are we getting Rodgers? I know, like, you have the press conferences where it's like, oh, we like Hackett for what it is, and I get it. But in all honesty, there were probably a decent amount of guys that would have taken over Hackett. But I didn't understand why they decided to go that route. If something doesn't work, and this isn't even just a coaching thing, but in life, if something one way doesn't work, you tend to go the opposite direction. So the Jets went with the young, upcoming offensive coordinator in LaFleur, and they tried that. It didn't work. And arguably, would I have probably brought in a Hackett as a senior offensive assistant and then hired someone as the actual quote-unquote offensive coordinator? Most likely. But Saleh, as has been discussed, is probably under a quote-unquote must-win window.
Yeah.
And in that case, you want to have people in there as a coaching staff that you can trust, that have been there before, that are veterans. I didn't even realize that was set on my phone, but that's okay.
It's all good.
We called it in time, so that was good. But you look at the coaches they brought in. You got obviously Hackett, you have Downing, you have Carter. These are all guys that have been there, done that. You're not really thinking outside the box. At the end of the day, you're going veteran heavy because you're trying to win now. You're not thinking about the development. You're not thinking about, oh, we know we're going to be here for this 3-year window to build these people up. You're hitting the ground running and going balls to the wall. And if it doesn't work, you're probably all fired anyway. So I understand the line of thinking. Did I necessarily agree with it? Not really. But you tried the developmental route. Zach Wilson hasn't worked out, and you're going the opposite direction.
I agree.
If we get Aaron Rodgers, it's not going to matter.
Exactly.
And we got to make it to the playoffs first, though. Let's take it easy. We got to get there first.
We're not asking Nate Hackett to to be a head coach. Like we saw that failed. Like, just call the plays for us, buddy. Everything will be all right.
And especially with having Rodgers there, you're not asking Hackett to be this maestro and have to come up with everything. Rodgers is a pretty damn good offensive mind himself.
Agreed.
Right.
And I think having more of that collaboration aspect is going to make it a lot easier for everyone, where it's not all on LaFleur's plate to plan out the entire offense. You're now delegating to this person, to this person, to this person. And at the end of the day, this is always what I say. You got to see it in action. You can call it out. You can say it's a bad move. It's this, it's that. You're not going to know until the bullets actually start flying, the game action's live, and you actually see the offense in action.
Agreed. Liam, you got any other questions for Brandon?
I think that's going to about wrap it up.
Awesome. Brandon, where can we follow you real quick?
So you got my Twitter at bpoc24, Instagram, same handle. Obviously, you see on the screen, A2D Radio. That's where my show usually gets televised. Not televised, it's on YouTube. You can find A2D Radio on Instagram, Twitter. Follow my work at Jets Insider. That's just at Jets Insider. And any other things that I end up doing, you can find on my Twitter, because I'll be posting it out there.
Awesome, man. We appreciate you being on the show. Big fan. Love what you're doing in the Jets Insider. Your show is great as well. Liam, where can we find you real quick?
You can't. You get me on Facebook. I don't really go on Facebook, so don't add me there. But Liam Johnson, and then on Instagram, official Liam Johnson, and then I run the Everything NYJ Twitter page. So that's probably the best place to find me. We have a lot of fun over there on Twitter. Italy Jet, I'll ask you the same question. Where can we find you?
Hey, you can find me here on the NR Hour. Let's talk sports. Everything NYJ, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Snapchat if you want, or even WhatsApp if you want. No big deal. But also you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Bring on some awesome guests like Brandon. We appreciate everyone in the chat. We got at least 20 people going. Everyone in the chat has been awesome. We appreciate everyone. Brandon, we appreciate you. We'll have you back on soon. Definitely a great guy. He's a must follow. Guys, thank you. Peace.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks for watching.